Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
I was ready to see all of us gathered here. There you are.
Yep.
Everything's coming
like
together.
An old soul.
Oh, we were just discussing the fact that the Sundance Film Festival has just passed, and sometimes there's a little bit of a letdown because it's such an incredible time to talk with amazing filmmakers. And this year, in the aftermath of the Sundance Film Festival, we are continuing our conversation about documentary film with Utah filmmakers. Celine Calderon was here just a week or so ago talking about her current production, a biography of Ted Bundy called Ted. And now I am pleased to welcome to the stage a couple of filmmakers who have been here in the past. They are making a documentary about the African American experience in Utah. It's called 2%. With me, Lonzo Liggins, and immediately to my right, Mr. Carlton Bluford. How are you?
At USASA, our
Good.
core
Good to see
values
you.
are
Lonzo,
excellence,
welcome back.
respect,
Good to see you.
and
Good to see you, my
with a
friend.
big emphasis
Oh,
on
fellow.
We have 32
Making
regional
film.
series
Absolutely.
around the
Doing
nation
that thing.
that host
I
over
guess
500 events at
pre-congratulations
over 100
because
resorts with
things are
competitors
moving
ranging
along.
from 5 to
Absolutely, yeah, we're really
75.
excited
USASA is the
finally
premier
have the
grassroots
funding
snowboarding
and
and free skiing organization in the world. We're
excited
also the first step in the Olympic
tell our
pipeline.
story.
With over 500
And
events
talk about
happening
that,
this winter
because
season, we've got
I
something
feel,
for everyone. Find an event
a
near you at
recognition maybe, given the
usasa.org.
fact that I was born and raised in farm country in Iowa, and so there were just, you know, out of 400 kids in my high school class, there were maybe 40 African Americans.
Sure.
So the similarity to this very Caucasian place in the world, Utah,
Absolutely.
is clear. But talk about the inspiration for the film.
Well, you know, there are a lot of people don't know that there are. I mean, there's 2% of African Americans here. It's not a lot, but we're here and we're doing things.
Absolutely.
And the idea kind of came about for me when my group of friends were like, hey, you know, we kind of want to ask you some of these questions, but we're not sure if we can. And I'm like, sure, ask away. And there were a lot of questions that a lot of people are actually interested in. And I was like, well, maybe we should actually, you know, share those questions and those answers to those questions with everybody. It's very interesting growing up African American in Utah, and everyone, you know, they always look at us and they go, how was that? What was that experience like? And so that's what we're going to hope to show.
And I would imagine that, I try to avoid using cliches, but have times changed? Have times changed in your experience, in your lifetime of growing up here? Are things different in Utah than they used to be?
I think things are drastically different, yeah. But they've always been, you know, I've always been treated very kindly by everyone here in Utah. I've been treated almost extra kind sometimes. So nothing like that. I think the strangest thing, honestly, for me growing up was leaving Utah and going out of town where my predominantly black families were living. Like my family was from Chicago and from Shreveport, Louisiana. And my cousins there were like, why you talk like that? And I'm like, whatever you do, you mean, you know? Like, I just grew up differently. So it's a very interesting dynamic. There's a lot of mental things that happen when you grow up here being an African American. Sometimes I felt like I had to kind of prove how black I was. And then as I got older, I was like, no, I'm good. So, yeah.
My experience wasn't as great as his, but it was, it's gotten better over the years. I think Utah's improved drastically. My daughter's grown up in a different time than I grew up in. I think it's, and you know, and Carlton's such a good storyteller. I mean, he wrote a play called Mama that was an award-winning play here. It won the David Fetzer.
Yeah, the David Fetzer Foundation.
Yeah, and he's won an award. And so I think it's such a, he's such a perfect person to be chosen to make this movie, because he's really good at sort of seeing a good story and telling a story with a lot of authenticity. And I think that his vision behind it, and I'm so glad to be behind it, working with him, is going to be, I think, groundbreaking for people to see, especially in Utah, because I think that people are used to seeing sort of watered down versions of stories, especially with the LDS Church at times. But I think he's going to bring something different. And I think that's what's going to make it fresh. I think it's going to stand out, and I think it's going to really tell all of our stories in a good way. And then, you know, there's also going to be, you know, some people that aren't going to have the greatest opinions, and that's okay. But I think that in the end, people are going to walk away from it thinking the black experience in Utah is pretty cool.
Talk about the storytelling aspect of it, if you would. And I'm sort of thinking of my experience as an observer of documentaries over the years, and talking with filmmakers, that there's so often there's kind of a catalyst moment that says, oh, I need to tell this story, but that's a snapshot moment. As a writer, what is it that you do to take that initial kernel that you go, wow, this is big, this is good, I know this, but you still have to put 45, 60, 75 minutes worth of narrative together. Talk about going into, I'm sure you're going to do a ton of interviews,
yes,
but you still have to keep the storyline moving forward.
Absolutely, and that's the most important part. I feel like African Americans have a rich culture of needing to triumph, and I feel like that's what we're trying to accomplish with the documentary. It's been a journey trying to get the documentary up, and we're going to be talking about and filming a lot of that process to show how we're accomplishing that. So there's going to be kind of a dual story that we're going to be showing the history, the rich history of what African Americans have done here, what they're doing, and hopefully what they will continue to do in the future. And interwoven into that, we're going to be showing us making that come to light. I would love if people at the end of this were like, I'm behind you guys, you know? And it has to be universal. Any good story, everyone has to relate to, not just African Americans, but Latinos, Asians, Caucasians, everyone has to relate to it. And so that's the kind of story that we're going to tell.
And it occurs to me that there is a journey for white Utahns in this story as well.
Absolutely. Some of the people we're going to interview are definitely going to be talking about, well, we're mostly in entertainment, so they're going to be talking about how it is to hire, do shows or plays or films with needed African American people, and how that process is in finding them. Where do you find them, and how do you reach out? I'm doing a show in the Heights right now at Pioneer Theater Company, and we're talking about how to show, something that's ethnic, if that's gonna, make money or be good, or it's the topic of the day, I think, and yeah, we're just gonna try to explore it.
And what an interesting time in the life of America, when race really has kind of come back into the national conversation in a way that, with Barack Obama as president, there certainly were a lot of people who wanted us, myself included, to be a post-racial society, but not so much.
But that's the thing too. There's a lot of strides that have happened. There's a lot, and we talk about all the things that we've kind of regressed on, or light has been shown on a lot of racial inequalities. But I also think, one of my best friends, cried after watching, it wasn't Django, but 12 Years a Slave. Right. There's this, he didn't do any of those things, and he's treated me amazing my entire life. So he feels like a certain guilt that I'm like, you don't have to carry that on your shoulders. I'm thankful that you're an ally. Right. And I think that in this time, that's what we need to do, is continue to build more allies. Correct. Especially in Salt Lake City, because a lot of people don't know a lot of the cool and amazing stuff that we're doing here. That is here. People think of Salt Lake City and they think of, snow and there's hiking and there's whatever. I'm like, but there's some cool stuff happening here.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm glad he mentioned that, because I think it's something that's really important that people don't realize, is that we have a unique African American community here. It's not like an African American community in other parts of the world. We have an African American community, but we're not all confined to one part of town in Salt Lake City. But our people are still here. We're still doing a lot of things, and we don't fall into the normal stereotypes that you hear that are spoken about of the African Americans. There aren't a big, roaming pack of African American gangs, or crime issues, or I don't think I've ever even heard of a black person killing another black person in Utah. Most conflicts between black people are not that big of a deal. We're more connected here at interwoven, as opposed to, at each other's throats. And I think that would be, an interesting part that we're going to be highlighting as well. To showing that this is a really unique community that's evolved over the years.
Indeed. Let's talk about your time frame, what's happening now,
yes,
and how we can all help.
So I think getting the word out is obviously a big help. Right now, we are crossing our T's and dotting our I's, trying to get paperwork. We're trying to get continue to get the rest of the funding and just let everyone know what we're doing. I think we've said something. I got something going a couple years ago, and as I've been talking to people, like, oh yeah, weren't you doing that a while ago? And it's like, yes, we were, but like, you know,
still doing it.
Still doing it, yeah. But how can we help? I don't know.
Well,
Kickstarters, any of that sort of thing?
We're not doing the Kickstarter right now because our funding's almost completed.
Congratulations.
So,
thank you.
That's huge.
Essentially, there's the why. Well, you can email us.
Yes, absolutely.
Email us at Little Mother Production. So it's LITTLEMOTHER Production at Gmail. You can email us there.
LittleMotherProduction@gmail.com.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
Cool. Well, I'm excited. This is a really cool thing, and like I say, the change in 5 years ago when I first started doing this, and you know, Sundance is over and it's over. And of course, that wasn't realistic either in the sense that there were films being made, but especially in the genre of documentary film, to be having these kinds of conversations right on the heels of Sundance, for me, is really cool and exciting. And I'm also envisioning you guys being right back here during the Sundance Film Festival.
That is the goal. We want to come up and support our own backyard a little bit and show out. So.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, congratulations on getting your funding together. That's a huge deal.
Absolutely.
And also best wishes for a wonderful production. It's always a challenge to do the ultimate collaborative medium. Lonzo, so good to see you too, my friend.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you for being in touch always. And can't wait. Super excited. Let us know how we can help here at Park City Television,
Thanks
fellas.
for having us. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Rock and roll.
Cool.
Hey, you guys, that's Carlton and Lonzo. The film is 2%. LittleMotherProductions@gmail.com to see how you may become involved and help out this important documentary film production right here in Utah. Quick break, and we have one more drink and a little bit more music before we get out of here. So please stay tuned, because I love you.